All right. One of the shorter ones, but I think it had plenty in it for you. So if you have a comment or question, this is what we call the Afterburn. You can come on up. Here we got a podium. If you're online, start typing in. I've only got about 30 minutes. We'll try to get into as many as we can. All right, Amy.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
So like Moses says, choose life or death. So like when we choose to be kind and tolerant and patient and all that kind of stuff, when we bump into NPCs and stuff, is that serving? Like when we choose the right, like being good, or like, is that choosing life when we're nice to people or rude? Like if we're rude or feel put upon or act like we're put upon or whatever, is that choosing death? And when we're kind to people and patient, is that choosing life? And is that serving?
Okay. Let me answer, yes. But let me kind of re-explain that. We are called to serve, and part of that serving is we serve by being examples, lights. Okay, that's part of our service. Because right now he's using us to be that light and example to everybody. He has not yet popped their bubble, so they can see what this looks like. That's what Israel was supposed to be, that light that wasn't put under a basket, that was on the hill that people would see. So yes, every time that you act in a way that the world doesn't, when you're kind, when others would not be, when you're patient, when others would not be, you are serving him. Because you're serving him as an example. What Yeshua would be like if they would have Yeshua right there in front of them. You get to show what that might look like. And yes, that is choosing life. Of course, when you do the opposite, and you default back to the more mammon, worldly, fleshly, earthly way of handling things, by getting offended and being rude and the opposite of all the things you said, the good stuff, well then you are in a sense choosing death, because you're choosing the below instead of the above. The above is life, the below is death. Okay?
And so, and then creating wealth and everything. Well, I grew up with very little, and then my late husband showed me another side of life and gave me plenty. But now I have very little again. But when I lived with my mother for 8 years in there upstairs, I learned that I don't need a lot. I'm very content with a little. I don't ask for much. Is that?
Okay, let me redefine wealth for people, okay? To me, okay, the difference between rich and wealth. Wealth is a lifestyle. And by what I mean by lifestyle is that you have contentment with what you have. You can be content at various levels of money, let's call it income, whatever, finances. Some people are very content at one level, other people are content at a different level. And that doesn't make one right and one wrong. They're both right, okay? So you can decide what wealth looks like to you. Okay, wealthy people don't stress over paying their bills. But you could do that at a level here, or you could do it at a level here. Doesn't matter. The point is that's what wealth is. Okay, you have an ease of mind in the things that you need. Okay, wealth provides you that peace of mind that you have enough to have enough. But what you think is enough may be different for somebody else who may want a little bit more. That doesn't make them right, you wrong, or you right, they're wrong. Okay? I've never said that you should be striving for a super, millionaire status or something. I said you should be striving for ease of your financial life. And you can have that at a much lower level if you're willing to have less. I mean by less in a bad way. I mean, some people are again, with the mammon thing. They want because they think it's power, this or that, or status. They don't need all that, okay? But does that make sense? Did it answer your question?
It does, yeah.
Okay, good.
I just have one more thing I want to say. Until my husband and I got to go to Japan, I never could have imagined how big one of those airplanes were. Whatever, it had 3 rows going across. It was huge. I've never been on a cruise, so I can't imagine how big a cruise ship is. I can only try to picture it, but I can't. So Torah, sometimes this whole walk and everything, the enormity, like fearing Yahweh, sometimes I can't get my mind wrapped around it because it's so big. And how can I grasp that enormity?
Well, you first of all, what you do is you allow the enormity to inspire the reverence, okay? And then recognize you just need to deal with what's in front of you. Work with yourself and that which is brought before you, which is the people that you brought before you, the opportunities and the tasks and things that you do on a daily basis that give you a chance to shine, in showing that you are bringing what he's given you into the light, right? You're walking this out in a way that he can see. If you try to fathom the full enormity, we can't. It's above all of us to do that, right? I've often used the analogy of the amoeba trying to understand one of us. That's like us trying to understand him. But when we recognize the enormity, because we can understand there is something so much bigger than us, which the amoeba can't, we can then have awe and reverence for that. And it inspires us then to see him in the right way. Does that make sense? All right, good. All right. I wanted to say something else real quick that Elder taught the other week when he taught. I want to clarify something. He was talking about, at times, people that are really struggling, hey, go get 3 jobs, 5 jobs, work 24/7. Okay, of course, you don't mean 7, you meant 6, but I got that, okay? But the idea of you need to work all the time, but that's not what you need to be doing, okay? You need to do that only to the point where you can create an opportunity so that you can work more normal, less, and not be stressing about finances. What he was talking about, and he was right, was if you have a problem, you need to hit it as hard as you can. Take 3 jobs, do whatever you can, fix the problem with the plan to not always have 3 jobs, okay? Because that's no lifestyle, okay? You want to work to create a life. We have a phrase that makes no sense in the way people deal with it today, which says, well, I work for a living, but you don't have any living. You work, but there's no living, okay? So let's try to focus that you work to set up life and living, where you have the ease, I don't mean like sitting around on a couch, somebody's peeling grapes for you. I mean ease, where you don't stress about finances. You have what you need financially so that you can do the things, have a normal balance. A normal balance meaning 1 job, or eventually when you retire, no job, okay? And you can afford that and live without stress. Financial stress is one of the worst stresses and most common stresses everybody has. So I understand what Elder was saying, and I agree with it 100%. I just want to add a little clarity that the plan should be not to stay at that level that you have to push yourself to just to fix your problem. But you should go to that level and fix the problem, okay? If you don't know what to do to go to that level and then go out of that level, get counsel. We can counsel you on how to do that, what that looks like, okay? But otherwise, you end up at 65 plus, and now you're still struggling, you can't really retire, your Social Security doesn't pay you enough, you didn't really have enough of a plan with your pension and everything else that you could do, and now you barely make ends meet, and you can't enjoy life at all. Because everybody always thinks, well, I'm gonna enjoy life when I retire. No, you're not. Almost nobody does, because they don't have any money to do it. Wouldn't it be nice to enjoy life on the way? Problem is, you're enjoying life on the way, and then you leave yourself with nothing because you didn't work hard enough when you should have at the beginning. So then compounding works in your favor. All right? Just want to throw that out there because I think that we really have a problem understanding these things. And yes, we talk about go work more, work more, work more, until you fix your problem and have a plan to then rechannel all that extra income into something that will then make your life easier. That's wisdom, okay? All right, Rabbi Tom.
Thank you, Rabbi. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
You read in Matthew about the good eye and the evil eye. Could that also be construed as perspective? 2 people look at the same thing and come away with different points of view. And what I thought of when I thought of that was that you said before your teaching that there are people who are having a cow and getting all bent out of shape about things that are happening here, and that's what they're seeing. But they're not seeing the good things. They're not seeing the blessings that are happening here.
Correct.
That's what.
Okay, but hold on. Let me ask you a question. Why? When you have 2 perspectives, what's the difference?
Attitude.
Not attitude, okay? The difference in the perspective is
where
they're at in their walk, in their life, in their growth, all right? Because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So in their growth or lack thereof, they're going to see either evil eye or good eye. Mm-hmm. All right, so you're right about what you're saying, but I want to make sure we're clear always. If you ever counsel me, we can always dig underneath and understand what causes that choice. Well, they're both coming from a different place in their life, in their walk, in their growth, in their mindset, in their heart, and that's what makes the difference. We call it pessimistic, optimistic, you can call it whatever you want. But you weren't just born one way or the other. You become one, and then you can change and become the other. You can start optimistic and become pessimistic and vice versa. I don't want to think, oh, a pessimist can become an optimist. Sure they can, but it goes the other way too. Depending on how you receive and how you process your experiences, okay? Some people take a bad experience as a blessing of learning an education lesson to know what not to do or what they need to fix or change, as opposed to cause depression, anxiety, and quit, all right? And so that also comes through how you've grown and developed. That's why they have all this personal development stuff out there, so you can grow and develop. And then you should now look through your lenses and see things hopefully more good eye than evil eye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right? Excellent point. I just want to make sure that we're always digging down to understand, even though something is true, why? Why? What's going on? All right? All right, Sarah Beth.
Shalom, Rabbi. Thank you very much. This was very helpful. 2 thoughts. I want to make sure I am connecting correctly. One, in talking about how everybody wants a perfect congregation to live in. And you read today talking about he commanded Israel to guard. They were in what we want, the land, the community. They had the tabernacle. They had Moshe. But yet every verse almost is guard. Why did they have to guard if it was perfect?
Exactly. And again, it's not just only personally you might have an issue and then you may just choose whatever, but you watch others have issues and they try to bring you into their way of thinking. In a community setting, you have all that. Look, think of it again, when I keep saying this all the time, of late. At the end of the millennium, to me, until I understood it, the most ridiculous, stupid, bizarre thing happens until I understood it. So I'm not being disrespectful to Yahweh. Hasatan doesn't break out, he's released. And when I first read that, I was like, why? He's been locked up. Everything's been great for 1,000 years. Why would you release him? Because you need to have a choice between mammon and Elohim. You need to be in a community where somebody's whispering, you want to do what you want to do, don't you? You don't need to listen to him. Did Yahweh really say? I mean, you need all of that temptation to see what you're really made out of. Okay, so it was all the way from the beginning. We see this in the garden, all the way to the end. We see this at the end of the millennium, the same problem. You're supposed to not be isolated. We're set apart, not isolated. Set apart even amongst other people. We're still set apart in the same room with other people, all right? You go to work, you may be the only one set apart in that building, but you're in a building full of all those people, but you're set apart, all right? But we're not supposed to be isolated. We're supposed to be a light. We're supposed to shine. We're supposed to be seen. We're supposed to interact. So people know what it's like to interact with what Abba is doing through human beings, right? Okay, did I answer it?
I just wanted to make sure that I thought that was the right connection. But second, you talked about seeking power. That was really profound and made that whole section make a lot more sense. But if I was to take that and apply it to my life, like you tell us to do, what does this look like for you? Would it be like when the blue wants to control and make sure bad things don't happen? That's still seeking power. Seeking power of the circumstance, seeking power over other people so they don't mess things up. Is that a correct way of looking at that?
Yes, but let me package it a little differently, okay? All right? When the blue personality style, more than the others, likes to make sure nothing ever goes wrong, which is good. I don't have a problem with that. The problem is how you go about it sometimes, right? That's when you're seeking power. So it's not just the concern, if it's a concern, that you see something and if you don't intervene or do something, something bad might happen, okay? So you have a concern. It's what you do next is going to decide whether you're going according to Elohim or going according to mammon. Because you have to ask, the first question is, whose authority is involved here? Am I usurping an authority by getting involved? Am I overstepping a boundary by getting involved? Now I'm choosing to insert myself, impose my authority, power, okay? So it's a wielding of power, not a seeking of power that's going on there. But the wielding of that power is coming from the mammon side, not the Elohim side, if you're not the person that's supposed to be doing it. Now, that doesn't mean blues never jump into where they're supposed to and they're actually their authority. I'm saying is the problem is if you are doing it and there's a higher, other, a different authority that should be handling it, and you're jumping in anyway without checking with them first, usurping in some way, now you're out of order and you're wielding power inappropriately, okay? Which means you're buying into the mammon side, which is you could just wield power. It doesn't matter that there's authority. Now you've taken your own authority. So now we're wielding power in a mammon way versus an Elohim way. Does that make more sense? All right? Look, I appreciate you guys with the blue side of the personality that you really don't want anything to ever go wrong. I get that. And you believe nothing should ever go wrong. Everything should be preventable. And I get that too, to some degree. But you also have to allow that that's never going to be the case. The world is what it is, so things are going to go wrong, things are going to break and go bad, and people are going to get hurt and get sick or whatever. You can't prevent everything. But obviously, I think it's good if you're concerned that you are aware of something. If you can prevent it, you should. But you can't do it in a way that you're now in a place you don't belong, in a role you don't belong in an authority that you're now taking that's not yours properly. Okay, that's where you feed into the mammon side. All right? When you start to go into a place that's the boundary you're now crossing. All right? So if for example, you're under authority at work, okay? And you see something that you have a concern. You should probably, unless it's your authority, bring that to the person above you or above that area and bring it to their attention and let them handle it. And then when they choose to handle it in a way that you think won't work and is dumb, you can't ignore them and go handle it yourself. It's their problem now. And you have to let things sometimes go wrong. That's just a harsh reality. I know sometimes the blues that things should be allowed to go wrong. But they have to be allowed to, because otherwise people won't learn from them. Okay? Things going wrong is actually a good thing sometimes, because it's where the lessons come from. Now, fortunately, we could also learn from other people having those experiences, see how they handle them, so we don't have to go through the same experience. You can learn from other people's experiences, which is one of the better ways to go about it if you can. Some people don't learn from other people very well. They need to handle it themselves and find out for themselves what does and doesn't work, and so you have to let that happen too. Some of you have children like that. Doesn't matter how much you warned them and told them, they don't believe you until they burn themselves. And they still don't believe you too sometimes, okay? So some people are just stubborn to not learn a lesson. Okay, they burn themselves, they still do it again. But just so you understand, hopefully that makes sense in answering the question, okay? All right, Pete.
So Rabbi, on the way up today, I listened to Making Decisions, the Reason You Exist, and that teaching always bothered me, because I never felt that that's not enough. It's not enough to just make a decision. And so I listened to it today to see if there was something I was missing. And then I think I understood you talk in that teaching about how you make those decisions, what influences are involved in you making those decisions. And I was okay with that. I understood that, but it still wasn't resolved for me until I remembered Elder Billy's teaching last week, the what are you doing? And I think those two go well together. And then today, you brought that full circle by saying that we are here, we exist here to serve. So I think that it's like a trilogy of teachings. But then it occurred to me that there's a fourth. It's what are you thinking?
Yeah.
So I think, what are you thinking, making decisions, Elder Billy's teaching on what are you doing, and then today, I think that's the four corners of really everything you've been talking about.
Well, I would add a fifth one, which is whose eyes are you right in, okay? Because that's the motivator behind why we do the things we shouldn't do, and the mammon thing and everything else, is that whose eyes are you trying to be right in? Okay, you're right in your own eyes, you're right in his eyes, you're right in your mother's eyes. Whose eyes are you right in? Is a very important piece of that same puzzle, okay? But also, with the making decisions teaching, and again, that was one teaching, had no verses, okay? I was just kept up all night, not been allowed to sleep. Yahweh just kept me up until I wrote it down, what little I wrote down, and brought in that next day and taught. It wasn't what I was planning to teach that week. Now, that being said, making decisions, we're talking about a decision that you take action on. Because a lot of people say, well, I made a decision to lose weight. I made a decision to go to the gym. But then you don't go. So it's really not a decision. So when I say making decisions, the reason you exist is like you're here to make a decision and actually do something. Okay? Take the action. So that's also part of the missing element if you miss that, because it's not just about making coming up with an idea and saying, I've decided that we're going to move. I've decided I'm going to change jobs. But if you don't do it, you didn't really decide, did you? Okay? And so you're here, so he watches what you actually decide, choose, and do. Because it's like also you have the parable of the one child, he says to the children, go do this. The one child says no and goes and does it. So what decision did he make? Did he make a no decision or a yes decision? He made a yes decision. Started off, sounded like a no decision, but it was yes. The other one said yes and didn't do it. So it looked like a yes decision, but it really was a no decision, right? So understand when I talked about in the teaching, making decisions, reasoning this, is he wants to see what you actually choose or decide to do based on what you actually do, not by what comes out of your mouth, okay? People don't always walk the talk, all right? Anyway, Marlene.
Hey, thank you so much for this teaching. It's such a blessing. I almost got up and had a praise report, but it wasn't urgent, so I didn't. But it goes right along with what you were teaching today about...
So you're going to sneak it in anyway?
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Look, you knew you were busted. I just had to say it. Everybody else knew you were busted. They all knew. I was going to bring this up. It wasn't urgent, but this gave me the excuse to do it, so I'm going to do it.
Oh, I was lollygagging, Rabbi.
No, you're being so sneaky. Go ahead. Go ahead. You're wasting my time here. Come on, sneak it in there already.
Cracking jokes. It's his fault, teacher.
I can't help that you can't say your sneaky stuff and laugh at the same time.
So what it was that I had been videoing driving, and I noticed that, the outside, not me driving. And I noticed that I couldn't see that far with the camera in my phone. But then it just occurred to me one day that I was looking outside my window as I was driving, and I could see miles and miles and miles, beautiful hills, beautiful mountains. And I was thanking the Father for giving me these eyeballs that he invented that could see for miles and miles and miles and look at the majesty and the wonder that he had created. And then it occurred to me, this is yesterday morning, as I was meditating on that I don't have to worry about anything because of the scripture that you read about, he knows everything you need. So if we delight ourselves in him, he'll give us the desires of our heart. And the more that I've been in this walk with you and listening to what Yahweh is telling you to tell us and through the leadership and everything, it's becoming more and more apparent as I am focusing on him and what he wants for me, and guarding the commandments, that he just provides things. I don't even have to ask. And I don't hardly, it's not even a prayer anymore about anything that I need because I don't need anything. Before I can even verbalize it, he's already given it to me. And what I appreciate about this teaching as well is that I have to guard that. I have to guard that m.t.o.i. It's not something that just is, I'm going to get through osmosis or it's organic. I need to physically guard not following mammon. So I just really appreciate you bringing that all together. Thank you, Rabbi.
Amen. Awesome. All right, Esther.
Shabbat shalom, Rabbi.
Shabbat shalom.
Yes, thank you for the teaching. I love the way that you go through it so quickly. It's like we really just need to go back, like even today, with last night, it was like you have to rewatch because you hear things that you say that you're not saying unless you go back and rewatch it. And I'm appreciative that you say it all the time, so that way we can finally grasp these concepts. And I'm so appreciative that you take the time to do that. But so, I don't know, dawned on me, logical formula, I don't know. With a let them go, so they serve me. So they serve me is the actual point, not let them go. And freedom's a false. It's weird because it's 4th of July, freedom, yay. And I don't know, in the military, that's what was all about, our freedom, and self-sovereignty, really. And it's on a spiritual level, we're not free, and we were never created to be. And like you said it, we're, either slave to ourselves or to Hasatan or to Yahweh. And like when you just went through it over and over, let them go, so they serve me. And it was like, it wasn't let them go. Like we sing these songs, let them go, no, 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 I will not let them go. But it's like, no, so you do something with that. And like, so he had us a slave to the wrong authority with Pharaoh. And we had to go through what wrong authority looked like. And then he let us go so we would desire it in our hearts to serve him, the right authority, the blessing, all of that. And it's like, I don't know, when people come to the feast or they come and do these things and then their intention is to just wait it out and like, I'm not going to serve. That's insane. I'm sorry. It's just so insane because you're missing so much blessing.
Sure.
Like, I don't know, I was so blessed. And the year I did the most serving, I did not even go in the tent one time, and I found my husband, and it was amazing. And Abba just pours.
I didn't know he was lost.
Yeah. No.
He didn't know. He knew he
Abba
was
gave
lost.
it to me. You know what I mean? Like he just.
You knew he was
blessed.
lost until you found him.
It wasn't lost. It was just perfect because it's like the mammon thing, like you talked about, was it's like if you're following after the Father, and I don't know if I'm wrong, this is how it all connected today. If you're following after the Father, it's like your desire to do what you're serving, and like so. What is worship? Really, like came down to me like, what is worship? It's the surrendering of your self-sovereign authority to give yourself as a servant to Yahweh, and then like he blesses that. Like that is perfect structure. And so what is worship? Like worshiping the Father is giving all of yourself to him to serve him. And then like with the mammon part, that was cool. That was really cool because it was like the mammon. Hang on, I had something else. I was going to say something about that.
Okay.
I get excited. The mammon portion was like, if we just are doing what we need to be doing with our heart intended, like it's like you can't serve two masters. You can serve Yahweh, and you can do it with your intentions correctly, and like with the intrinsic nature, like you teach, and just like there's no intention out of it. Like he gives us these tools and these desires. We pursue them, do the work. He blesses it. That's where it comes from, the wealth. And then like, or you can just be like, this is what I want. This is what I want. This is what I desire. Darkness, evil eye, all that stuff. And it was just boom, like you did it. That was really cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Amen. Amen. And look, you know, I'll try to squeeze some of you guys in on live stream. Listen, the thing that I really want you guys to understand is, yes, you should absolutely listen to things more than once. Yes, you should listen to everything, period, because you never know when something's going to come out, whether it's during praise time, like I did today, or whether like last night, I did a little preemptive thing before I actually went into the Torah portion discussion and then went into the Torah portion. It's always going to be me allowing him to do whatever he wants to do. So there's no real way to know in advance what that's going to look like. And so you will miss things. Just like I know my wife said it, my daughter says it when they do the announcements. If you miss a zone meeting, they're not recorded. You will miss things. It's worth getting less sleep. It's worth whatever. To be there, you will miss something, okay? I know if I was in your chair, if my teacher was talking, I would be there somehow to hear what he's saying, okay? Because I might miss something. Now, that's not to say, yes, we have a creator that will make sure you'll get the information eventually one way or the other, but you know what? What about making the effort to be there just to make sure you don't miss anything? But I fall asleep. Look, I watch some of you fall asleep while I'm watching you right here. Elder said it last week. You know, I see a little head bobbing thing going on. You know. Got drool stains on your shirt. I know, okay? Crumbs there too, because you guys are snacking like crazy. All right, live stream.
All right, from Jeff and Tony Lumen. Rabbi Steve, I'm thinking you may get to this, but in this day, what does serving him look like? Thank you.
Yeah, I'll get to that. Next.
All right, from Stephanie Henderson. In trying to overcome certain challenges and difficulties in my life, is it okay to do meditations? I trust in Elohim completely. However, these do help in the process. Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay, I'm going to guess that doing meditations means that you are reading something preset that was written out by somebody or something. I don't know what, Stephanie, I'm not really sure what you're talking about, okay? Because you're saying in trying to overcome challenges, you're doing meditations as opposed to just meditating. I mean, meditation is fine. I mean, obviously, Scripture, we see that they're to meditate on the Word, and we see things like that Yeshua will go off and meditate and pray and those kind of things. So there's a lot of that going on. Even the idea of salah in the Psalms is the idea of pausing and meditating on what you just read or just was said. Now, but when you're saying doing meditations, I'm always reluctant and cautious with things that somebody else pre-wrote, okay? So you could always run that by us and let us know what it is that you're talking about there. Anyway, so I don't know. I don't know enough about what you're talking about. All right, next.
All right, from Olivia Dirth, Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi. So serving mammon, would this be most easy to do when the emotions are driving because the emotions, demand the authority or power in that moment? Is this correct?
Absolutely 100%. Okay? Now, it doesn't mean you can't, from a logical point of view, think that you're going after mammon because it's logical to you. Okay? Because you can have faulty logic. You see something looks like it works, and you decide logically that I'm going to do that because it looks like it works. Now, it could be emotionally driven to push for you to go after it. What I'm just saying is, it's not just an emotional problem. You could have faulty logic. Have you ever had faulty logic? Anybody? How do you fix that? How do you fix counseling? Okay. Was it Heather? Was that you? Right? Counseling. All right. You go and get somebody who knows the subject matter that you're thinking you're having the logic with, and you come to some conclusion, and you check it against somebody else, right? It says in Scripture, prove all things. It says to test, right? Test the spirit, so to speak, to test, everything should be tested. Well, good, you got something going on. You think you came up with a solution. You think it's logical. Double check it with somebody. Somebody that actually is qualified to double check it with. Because it may not be a spiritual thing. You may go check it with, you may have a legal issue, go double check it with a legal person. You may have a financial issue, go to a financial person. You have a health issue, go double check it. Don't just choose your own, I saw this thing online, it looked like a great thing, it's gonna fix all my health problems. Look, that's modern day snake oil salesmen. And they're abundant on every YouTube video. You have to click to skip, but if you don't skip it, you get roped into either some business to get you wealthy or some snake oil to make you perfect. Okay, so just be careful. Some of that stuff's not bad, probably, whatever. Why don't you take that idea and go check it with somebody, okay? And figure out who the right person to check it with is. Get the right person. All right, next.
All right, from Jason Hedenskog from South Africa, would you advise instead of worrying, one prays more to hear or be guided by Elohim's voice?
Listen, I don't know what the best answer is to tell you what to do instead of worrying. Just don't worry. If you're worried about something, get counsel. If you're worried about something, yes, praying helps, absolutely. Reading, studying. Go read the section of Matthew 6 just to help you be inspired. And Jason, by the way, I know that you're also being slick. You just wanted Sarah to hear your voice on there. So I see how slick you're being. Good play, good move. All right, because I see her smiling, which I tell you so you know. All right. He's like, I got to get a question in. All right. All right, anybody else? What do you got?
Yeah, that's it, Rabbi.
That's it. All right, so with that, that's the Afterburn. I hope that was good.